And the bartender said, God damn. He said, where'd you get that damn dog? What is he? And the bartender says, I don't know. He said, but before I cut his tail off and painted him pink, he was an alligator. So what I'm going to talk to you about tonight is how all this time around this society, all these years, how they've been cutting the tails off of things and painting them pink for black folk. Okay? And I want to tell you what the animal really is. And so Alton has asked me to come before you this evening and follow up to the Million Man March and also the O.J. Simpson trial. And try to give you some examples of where we go from here. He says the question at this point is, where do we go from here and how do we get there? But before I can get to that, I want to spend a little time with my people this evening telling you something that's a little more important. And that is, I want you to know first where you are now and how you got there. And then I'll talk to you about where we're going to go. Okay? Because, you see, there's a systematic effort in this country to downgrade understanding history and where we are and how we got there. And I'm going to tell you this evening that the worst form of racism in this country is that kind of racism that tries to tell black people to put your history behind you. To tell black folk, you know, that it's unimportant. We need to move beyond blame. Let's forget about being the victim. They never tell that to anyone else. And you can never compete. You can never get out of your dilemma as long as you're ignorant of how you got into it. Okay?
No, he's right. I always say to everybody, if you have an illness and you don't know that you're ill, that illness will never ever be eradicated. Because first of all, you got to know that you're ill to even fix the illness. That's the reason why your body gives you pain, to let you know something is wrong. If your body never gave you pain, or if you never will produce blood, if your skin get open, you probably could get hurt seriously and never know. Just walk your dumb butt around all in a state of critical condition because nothing is alarming enough to make you pay attention to your true circumstances. Well, the cloaking of materialism around the human mentality has made a lot of people not aware of that illness. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Anytime you have an existence on a planet that was ordained by God, spirituality, where you had fruit trees to pick fruit from and eat and sustain yourself and have all that rest of the day left to worship your universal creator, which was yourself. We done gone from that to worshiping an entity that is an oppressor and has turned your advantage of picking fruit from a tree to all this labor you have to put out to go get a can of processed bullshit. The tree is gone, but you could go get you some freaking peaches in a can. Talking about evil and corruption and your ability to be God and sustain yourself being stolen from you by the people who want us to accuse gods of stealing bikes. Listen what he's saying.
And I've got people telling me, so Dr. Anderson, what we need to do now is be teaching black folk how to just get beyond racism and become competitive with white folk. I say, how? I said, when you never tell Jews to put what happened to them behind them. You never tell the Southern white to put the Civil War behind him. You never tell anybody in this country to put their heritage, their race behind them, except black folk. And once you buy into that, if you buy into that garbage, you're lost. There's only three ways you could have gotten into your dilemma as a black people. Either you got here by godly divine decree, or you got here because you're genetically inferior, or you got here because white people have been socially engineering. One of those three, either elaboration, sophistication, or a combination of those three things. If you put your history behind you, then they got you trapped. Because there are only two left. You're here now because God wished it, or because you're genetically inferior. And that's why they keep putting out these books on the market saying blacks are genetically inferior. Because they keep telling you to put it behind you. If you put it behind you, you cannot figure out how you got into it. But even more importantly than that, we got to understand history, and that's what I tried to put in our book. We got to understand history so that not only can you just give rhetoric and emotional sentiments about what happened to us, but you can analyze in very specific terms what they did. And then you can go back and say, now, if they did that, what must we do based on what they're doing now to countervail it and to countermove it?
First thing is, you got to, like I said, become a fact of knowledge that something did happen. Once you know what happened, you know that you have an illness. That's the reason why you see me diligent at making these videos that I make, because contrary to not having anything else to do, what's going on is that I have something to do. And I'm doing that. So please enjoy it. Don't be a hypocrite. See the need for this, because I got news for you. What goes around comes around. And all you white people and black people who all benefited off of a society, like he said, an engineered society based off racism. One sector of people created hell for another sector of people so it could be profitable. And everybody on the planet jumped in on the ride, including the people that was victimized. So now you have the people that's victimized also part of the team of victimization. And then you get the UFOs that come in and say, we watched and we see. Okay, time for judgment, baby, on the crack.
And that's what the Harvest Institute is about. And that's what my book is about. I want to give you a book so that you can just read one book. And if you read it thoroughly, you can understand almost anything you want to know about how we got into our dilemma and what we must do to get out of it. And you see, right now, we're in a world of trouble. A world of trouble. And it's not only in this country, internationally speaking, black people in trouble all over this earth. Because you see, black people all over this earth are now obsolete and unnecessary. They're paying in the posterior. And they're getting ready to put the moves on us. They're going to put the moves on us because from this point forward, forget about all the symptoms. The issue from this point forward is who owns and controls the resources. That's the bottom line. Forget about anybody telling you about all the symptoms. You can forget about food stamps, welfare, Medicare, Medicaid. You can forget about crime, child abuse, abortion. All of those are symptoms. The issue from this point on forward on earth is who owns and controls the resources. And contrary to anybody that tells you right now, all of this nation, all the countries are progressing and uniting to get ready to fight those battles, except our people. The only nations that are going backwards on earth are the African nations, and those are run by black people. And contrary to what anybody tells you, the African nations do not own or control enough resources to be competitive and defend themselves. They set them free starting in the mid-1960s, but the whites had learned by then that they could control those countries just as well outside as they could inside by controlling the resources. And we got a lot of Africans come to this country that won't even level with my people in this country to tell them that. They keep giving them the shuck and jive game that somehow they got something special in Africa that we don't have over here as Americans. And we're going to have to put accountability on those African nations, just like we're going to start putting accountability on the blacks in this country too.
Especially the spiritual imposter leaders that keep pushing that someday a white man is the answer to all our problems. Well, in a way that do make sense. But no one wants to be responsible for trying to kill a whole race of people. But as weird as it sounds, I just said, some dead white man is the answer to all our problems. And in the back of my brain it said, do you know if there was no white men, a lot of your problems would go away? But see, it's that type of thinking that messed this world up. Because they convinced all the white people that if there was no black people on this planet, all of their problems would go away. So I'm just spiritually intelligent enough to know that even though that did register in the back of my mind, that's something for the UFOs to decide on, not me. I don't want to be responsible for that. But I really believe that somewhere at the hands of the actions of you guys, your verdict is going to be closer to the latter. I mean, in all honesty, heads will roll. That's no lie. What has happened is horrible. and it's not going to be overlooked. And I hate to be the one to tell you that, but if I don't say it, I don't think no one else is going to say it. But you can look at what's going on yourself, and you can see all of these UFOs controlling the resources now. As this man say, who control the resources? Let me tell you, you guys don't know yet, but that would be me. You're going to find that out real soon, too. Watch.
See all of them? When they come into this country, they always want to align themselves with blacks in this country. Whenever they have a need, or they have something that needs to be done. But when I go down and find out who is representing those countries, I find only white lawyers. When I go down and find out who they're hiring for the public relations firms, I find only white money. And every time they need some help in Africa, the first thing they do is run to black folk or run to the Congressional Black Caucus. That day is going to end.
And he's absolutely right, because see, the UFO's been watching. And I know I've seen the people here, all these spirits that came to earth had a specific reason for showing up here, because your soul was put to a test to see what your true vibrations are. And a lot of these people get here on earth and they forget that they were sent here with a specific task to do, because they get involved with all other body quests and all other desire searches is what become main day every energy output, instead of being, you know, responsible for why you was sent back here. You made a deal with the universe creator to do a job when you came back here. And pretty much what people will do is who they are, not what people say or what people are titled to be. It's the energy effort of an individual spirituality as well as spiritual essence of energy that decides what an individual is. As you produce, so is you. A tree that produces apple is an apple tree. I don't care how much you want to say it's a pear tree. Okay? That's all to it. People are going to have to wake up and take responsibility of their actions. You cannot belong to a group of people that knowingly perpetuate murder and theft of land and earth resources that should be divided amongst everyone. When you have one group of people that is smaller than the average large amount of people, and they perpetuate circumstances where they can get help from other people to eradicate the God people on this planet. Don't get upset when the God people who's been victimized come at your ass with the force of ships that's been at our availability forever. And you guys have created circumstances where punishment is due you from the descriptions this man is giving on here. You better start fixing your karma right now and get all this hatred shit that these corporations is trying to perpetuate, so everybody on this earth will just slide right into their big old bringing together this competitiveness where they can make money off of their war equipment, and at the same time eradicate the threat of people uniting with each other and doing the inevitable task of taking their freedom back. Everyone is slaves and programmed by a condition of fascism that is setting everyone up to murder each other on this planet. And that's just the first part. The worst part is, if you fall for that shit, your soul is going to be on the same due task as these perpetuators of this evil shit. So sell yourself out if you want to.
Any black African country that cannot deal with the blacks in this country, don't come here looking for our help anymore. And I'm
sorry, I gotta get on that. All you freaking nasty ass African people who come here and listen to the instruction of these crackers in this country to teach you